Okay, hi. So what is your name and pronouns?
I'm Oswin Latimer, and my pronouns are they, them, or fey, fayer.
Okay, and do you want to give an example of your pronouns in a sentence?
So fey, fayer would be Faye is a autistic activist. Fair work has done a lot to help both Fair self and Fair family.
Awesome, thank you. So I take it from your example sentence, do you identify as neurodivergent?
Yes.
Okay, and you can elaborate on that if you like, or if you're not comfortable with that, that's totally fine.
So I do identify as neurodivergent. I consider neurodivergent to be more of a political stance than a diagnosis or disability. But my disabilities are uh, autism and PTSD and general anxiety because we live in a world that is not accommodating.
hmm Thank you for sharing that. Um, so let's talk about FDM. So this is a little different for you because you created FDM. So let's start from the beginning. Why did you create FDM?
So I worked on a presentation in 2018 that I gave at the Autism Society conference. And it was all about how the language that we use to talk about autism affects the way that we then treat autistic people.
It's okay.
I'm going to restart that because
Okay.
um,
Cut it out in post.
exactly. Um, so back in 2018, I did a presentation at the Autism Society conference that talked about the ways that we use language around autism affects the perception and the way we treat autistic people. And from that presentation, um, I was talking to a colleague of mine, Cecilia Breinbauer, and she really felt that it was something that I should develop into something, into a training. And that training ended up becoming the FDM framework. And once it was developed, we needed a way to promote the course and everything. So uh, we formed FDM in, oh, the presentation was in 2017 because we formed FDM in 2018. Our formation date was January 31st. So it makes it really easy to remember. uh, and then we launched the course in like April after drumming up some uh, buzz about it online.
That's really awesome. Uh, so what do you do at FDM now as it stands?
So I am the executive director and chief executive, or sorry, restart that. I am the okay, restarting a third I am the executive director and principal executive officer of the board. But I run the day-to-day operations of FDM, and I kind of decide the direction of the organization and then get approval from the board uh, to do all the things that we do.
Okay. And what do you like about working at FDM?
Um, I like that I get to it's going to be kind of weird. But I like the way that I get to decide how we treat everyone,
Hmm.
internally and externally. I like that I'm able to uh, go by my values because I
Hmm.
don't think that a lot of people get that luxury in working, that they get to live by the values, but I get to here, and that's very important to me. And so it um, makes me happy that I get to have that opportunity.
Yeah, that's really great. Um, so on that note, and also given that you are sort of in charge of running things, why is it important to you that FDM is staffed by neurodivergent people?
I think there needs to be an underlying assumption that we can direct um, the conversation about us. Um, Having started out at ASAN and doing the all autistic staff there, I I see the value in people realizing that we are the people affected, and that has an authority to it that may not be true for any, or sorry, that mm, it just gives us an authority over the fact that we have a direction in our lives. But also then, it's not like we just hire neurodivergent people. We hire neurodivergent people who have specialty skills that otherwise may not be able to find work, because we know, especially within the autistic population, how few people are employed. And so being able to give back to the community like that as well is really important. And we end up getting really high quality staff because we're looking for people for, um, and this goes into like how we hire people. We don't hire people for broad jobs. We hire them for narrow set of skills, which I think is another way that we're different than a lot of places. We don't expect people to be able to do a ton of things. We expect them to be able to do a specialty area. And doing that means that we get a much better um, product, which is, I don't like that wording, but I don't know what other word to, the quality shows in what we
Right.
do because of that. So it's all those things together. It's not, it's, it's giving people a chance to work, but also directing our, our lives, and making sure that we are developing in a way that allows skills to shine.
Gotcha. So as the person who gets to decide how people are treated internally and externally, can you give an example on how you accommodate um, someone's needs?
Oh, it's so varied. Um, we're really big on, or I'm very big on everyone setting their own schedule as
Hmm.
much as possible, because I don't want to restrict people to expectations of our bodies working and our brains working on a set schedule. um,
Hmm.
we're neurodivergent. It's just not reality. So I don't want to make that be a thing. Um, but if somebody needs extra support, such as visuals, then I'm going to try and provide that. If somebody needs to have a set date rescheduled, then we can accommodate that as well. Um, but it's just, it's a lot of different things. And we just try to make sure that everyone's kind of supporting each other as much as possible within the org, I think.
Hmm. Okay. Well, is there anything else that you want people to know about you or about the organization?
I don't know. Like I've been doing this for I've been doing autistic activism for 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's something that we've been talking about within the board of like what it is that makes it so hard to conceptualize what FDM does.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because we try to do these really big things, but I don't see them as big things and I don't see them as complicated. I see them as these are the things that affect our daily lives. But because systems, then it becomes complex, even though all we're trying to do is help make people's lives a little easier. And that's really what it's about is making people's lives that little bit easier, uh, a little bit at a time. So whether it's the framework or whether it's to identify um, disparities or societal um, barriers, it's just about making that one little part a little bit easier. Um, Easier to find friends or easier to go to the store because you know what kind of supports you need. Um, but it conceptualizing a world that's completely different than the one we live in, it looks so complex when it's really not.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I I want people to be able to understand that about FDM, that that's what we're doing. We're just trying to make everyone's lives easier. Um, while recognizing that a lot of people are not going to have Medicaid support or job support, may not even have support at home. How do we help people have the most fulfilling lives without government intervention because sometimes we can't get that. Um, so yeah, that's what I want people to know about FD.
Yeah, that's great. Cool. Well, that's all the questions that I have. Is there anything else that you want to say?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, let me stop the recording.